All right. If there's nothing else, I'll go ahead and Feather, are you ready to go? Or?
Well, you'll still have to walk me through it. So so I minimize what I'm seeing you. I minimize that, and then I start my slideshow.
Yes, go down to the bottom of the screen and do share. The green button.
Whoops.
Move your cursor down to the bottom of the. You see it yet? Your cursor should be at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and that'll bring up the menu.
Okay, now I got the screen up. Whoa, this is exciting. Now what do I do?
Okay, put your cursor down on the bottom of your Zoom window, and the little green button says share screen.
Okay.
And then pick your PowerPoint.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
We're running.
Okay. And this comes from one of the classes that I teach. This Hopi creation story, it's in the flyer said, this is something I spent a great deal of time with a Hopi elder, Lewis, and he died maybe about 8 years ago at the age of 107. So he shared this story with me, and he told me that, especially when it became the year 2012 and everybody thought the world was going to come apart, that I could share it, but I couldn't put it in writing. And so I began to share it in 2012 with individuals, and then he died. So now I put it in writing, and I picked somebody I've taught it, and I've given them permission to print it. But let me just give a little basics on some of the petroglyphs. We do the dating from an archaeological point of view. We do it more from the style, because some of the dating techniques aren't really as accurate as we'd like them to do. I always tell people that it's not polite to ask a person or a petroglyph how old they are, because you'll never get a correct answer. And so in the desert cultures, there are some things that are going to be really similar with a lot of the petroglyphs. One, they're about rain. They're about migrations and then journeys. And then a lot of them are divided into the three worlds: the underworld or water world, the middle world, and the upper world. And so in this Hopi creation story, it's all about the entire creation process. And I'm going to start from over here, and I'm just going to go through the story and try to be as quick, because I got a lot of slides here. So, as far as the age is concerned, this is a better one, so I'm going to go with this one. As far as the age concerned, most of the glyphs on Anasazi Ridge are from what they call the formative rock art style, about 800 AD to 12 story from a different Hopi elder. So just so you know, nothing is set in concrete as far as these stories are concerned, but there'll be variations with the individual that tells the story. And as I was taught, there's always two stories anyway. There's the story that you tell white people and little kids, and then there's the story, then there's the real story. So when we start out here, this spiral represents the creator thinking, and thinking is caused by movement. So the creator decided that he wanted to create a place for the two-leggeds, but he wanted to leave, a circle is an open portal. So he wanted to leave an open portal from him to the people he created, and then leave an open portal for the two-leggeds to talk to him. And this is the opening at the head when we're born. And here is the journey. Oops, let me go back to, this is on a timer on purpose. So he started thinking about creating, and he called on Uncle. And here we have a T shape, which is a portal. And this is an upside down, so it's a T from the earth to the sky. And the uncle created 7 universes, and this is why this is divided into 7. And everything was created spiritually before it was actually created physically. And so the uncle divided into 7 universes, which will come into play over here. And so then he woke up. Let me just, the next thing that the creator did was create Spider Woman here to create the 2-leggeds. And this is her egg of creation right here. And everything that was created spiritually everything was going to be water, everything that was going to be life, everything that was going to be solid was created in these 3 circles. And Mother Spider set about to create human beings. And this represents the Cape of Wisdom, which is the placenta that surrounds every baby that's born. And so she created the different races from different colors in the sand even. And so she started creating, let me see if I can go and end one little bit. One of the first things that she created with the twins, and you know, a lot of cultures have twins, okay? And so the umbilical cord makes them the twins. So she created the twins, and this twin here, the boy twin, everything that he touched turned solid, and everything that she was involved with was the other twin. She put a vibration to it. So it's almost like quantum physics. And then they were put to the North Pole and the South Pole after the twins did the creation. And let me get back to. So as the human beings were created, it was important, like I said, for the creator to make sure that they connect to the creator in their thoughts and in their thinking. And this may surprise people because I hate to use the word chakra because they're not really chakras, but Hopis have 5 areas of movements. Okay. And so this is a circle is an open portal. And so the creator says, okay, right here, what we're going to do here, this is the east to west, the physical story. So the creator is going to give human beings, and you're born with this open portal at the top of the head. Later on, it's closed. And then when you get older, it begins to open again. So this is the area movement at the top of the head. And then right here, divided in half with this movement figure up here, is what we would call the brain, the left brain and the right brain. And the creator gave us 2 brains, one that we can work with the physical world and one we can work with the spiritual world. And then right here, it's divided into 2 once again with a note above it. And this is for talking and for singing. So we're meant to sing songs to the creator. And then this end one right here is for the heart. And of course, I'm saying to Lewis, I said, you said there's 5, that's only 4. And this footprint here, and I'll get into footprints a little bit later on, this footprint right here represents the last area of movement, which is the solar plex. And so that's the footprint of God that we have all inside us. And so now we go into this journey right here on this ladder. And this is divided into 7s. And the top one is the beginning, the bottom one is the ending, and it's divided into 5 sections. And this is a 5-hour lesson, and I'm not going to do 5 hours, but what he's basically saying, what he told me here, oops, I gotta go, I'm going the wrong way. And I think some of this I'll shorten. And so the first world right here, this is the first world that was created and then later on destroyed by fire or volcanoes. And they followed the cloud at the day and the star at the night to live with the ant people. And the ant people shared all their food with them. And that's why ants have skinny waists today. And then they emerged back up again into the second world. And the second world, the twins left their post at the North Pole and the South Pole, and the second world was destroyed by ice. And once again, they followed the cloud into the anthill. Then the third world, it's right here. And you see these little notches up here. Every little notch or little cranny means something. And so this world became out of balance. It was all about the technical stuff. The Hopis even have story about flying shills during this world. The two-leggeds began worshiping technology above spirituality, and so the creator wanted to put water over all the technology and flood it. So they went on little reefs, and Mother Spider gave them food to eat, and they floated around, and then they finally merged up again. And this is the fourth world that they came into. And then we're going to evolve into the fifth world. And here's a better close one of the twins. Now this one here is a little, maybe the other one's even better. I think I'm gonna go back to. I might go back, this is a little bit clearer. You see a little person here with their arms down, which means it's an earthbound, or right here at this moment. And so this is the journey back home. And this is also divided into 7 universes. Let me see, there we go. It's divided into 7 universes. And we have a choice to stay in this universe, or go into any of the other 7 universes that the uncle created at the very beginning, or you can go outside through this portal and create your own universe. So there really is no end to the story. And this is another one up at the site. Like I said, a lot of the things about rain god. And anytime you see big Google eyes, these eyes right here, and there's a serpent at the head. Some have called this Tlaloc, the rain god, but that's an Aztec word. But anytime you see the big goggle eyes, it's not an alien, it's really a rain god. And the goggle eyes come up from the Mesoamerica. And this is the spiral that I discovered in winter solstice. I was really curious. A clockwise spiral is a descending journey. A counterclockwise is an ascending journey. And so I went up there on winter solstice, and there's all sorts of shadow activity. And I wanted to know, this was a descending spiral, and I wanted to know if that would give me clues to where the stories, where the rain god came from. And sure enough, at the winter solstice, it points direct to the North Star. And that fits the stories about where the rain god came from. This is an ancestral being right here. And this particular figure, they call him a bear shaman. The bear clan was a prominent clan, and his feet are pointed in like a bear. So that signifies who made him. And this is another a solstice one. I'm not going to go through much of this. This is another long story, so I could really shorten it. We have a culture with 2 serpents. One's a earth serpent or a water serpent, and the other is the sky serpent. So this is a sky serpent. This fellow has 3 digits. 3 digits means you can take flight, which means this is a spiritual being, or a shaman, or a priest, or somebody of importance. So this highly spiritual, and I think I got a better one coming up. And so this shows him being born. This is the umbilical cord and being born. And this is him becoming a spiritual deity. He's got 3 digits here. And this has tremendous activity at the summer solstice as it goes through the story. Because here you've got an ancestral being that the shadow comes through his hand. And he's beginning to lose his digits because he's getting more spiritual and less physical. So this is called the 5 stages of man. These are the 2 mountains that he went to. An open circle is a portal. A closed circle has been there, done that, passed. And he's headed towards the sky serpent at the very top. And so this is his headdress. And one of the things when you go out there and see petroglyphs, I thought this was really interesting, going with the native culture. You see a lot of glyphs that have this checkerboard or hashtag or something like this. And that represents the Milky Way. And the reason why they call that representing the Milky Way is because if you look at the sky, they refer to this as netting, Netting. So the Milky Way has this giant net that captures all these stars. And so in the petroglyphs, when you start seeing this, we'll go through this a little bit more, anytime you start seeing checkerboard, and you wouldn't think that'd be the Milky Way. And these were tick marks of journeys that he made. The two horn society meant he had all of the knowledge, and these would be the 3 mountains that he visited. And this is his last stage. As I tell people, he's got one important digit left. And this is I don't know if anybody's laughing. This is bothering me. But anyway, this is the sky serpent, and there's an open portal, and that's where he's headed to for the last stage of his life. And this is the I told you so panel. This is sheep represents a group of people in most sites. If you go to the Costos Range, you have the boat-shaped sheep, and they have a different meaning altogether. But the square-shaped sheep means that we had 2 large villages documented below. This is better. Documented below that were run by females. And are they migrating or they're staying? And you look at their feet, okay? They're there to stay, right? They're all hooked in like your tooth rooted in. And if you have a clothespin on a little figure, that's a coyote. And it's probably a water coyote because he's crying for rain. J is the last place we're meant to go to, which is the J and the Milky Way. There's a black spot in the Milky Way that's the J by the Scorpio constellation. L is Earth, and these are the ancestor beings. And so they're telling them to leave this place because of a drought. This is why they call this the I Told You So panel. And there is the footprints of the Creator. And actually the Hopi word for petroglyph is footprint, because when they merged up and they followed Massal's footprints, and then they were told to migrate and put their footprints there. So there's the footprint of the Creator, and then Mother Spider. And the Creator typically has big hands, big feet, and many times 6 toes. And these are adult footprints facing west. And we call the village up there, we call it the teaching village, because we would come here, they would come here for these stories. And this is, I think, one of the more fascinating ones. It's a slanted rock. They call it the Birdman rock, but it really is the soul tube priest. And this right up here is a serpent tube that comes up from Mesoamerica. And if this soul tube is laying this way, this is the story of the physical journey. If you turn it north and south, that's the spiritual journey. And that's why it's a tube, and the open portal is a circle. And so it's he's got three fingers and 3 digits everywhere. So this is definitely a soul. And the thing with the solstices is they go through this. We've got shamans or priests, whatever you want to call them. They're capturing and controlling the sun. And so when I go out there on the solstices, I have to take time to tell the entire story as the light appears. And everything on here is the sky. So there's the Scorpio symbol. Many petroglyphs are divided into the 3 areas. That's the symbol of an ancestor. And this one, I don't know, you can read this one either way. He's either upside down or right side up, depending upon how you're reading this figure, but it's all about energy. And when it's patterns all over with, it ends up at this Venus star here. So it starts with this first shaman and travels down to the bottom, even goes through this spiral. But in this place, it's all about the shamans or the priest actually capturing and controlling the sun. And this is where it first comes down through this one figure here. You got Badger clan markings. Every place is going to have a clan marking. And so I've learned all of the clan markings. Every place is going to have a clan marking. It'll tell you which clans went through here. This is a long story of a Badger, 7 journey down, 7 journeys up. So you can see these can be very complicated. And this one is fascinating because you got 2 serpents. You got the earth serpent, and it's the ridge that you're standing on. And then if you look in the distance, you've got a sky serpent because it's got 2 heads, okay? And it also follows the ridge. And then here you've got an open portal, which would be a ritual place that you'd actually follow this. It actually ends up being a map. And these are portals that are now closed. And then it goes along, follows the ridge. So this ends up being a story and a map. And this is the Bear Strap clan sign. And when the clans emerged up, 19 went one way, 21 went the other way. And so each one of the clans had a part of the story in it. And the first clan came across the bear. And so they became the Bear clan. And then the second group that came across the same dead bear and made leather straps out of it. So they became known as the Bear Strap clan. But you see these incredible song glyphs that are just everywhere, which tells you with the song glyphs, it tells you this is going to be a ceremonial area. And when the sun comes up, the songs are sung. When it goes down, the songs end. And so we've got song glyphs everywhere. There's a Turkey clan, another real prominent clan marking. Two Horn Society, which is the most powerful. That one be a little bit more recent, probably about 1250. And this was a huge discovery. They're one of the few ones that we've been able to accurately date. This is the oldest dated petroglyph at 6,000 years old. Right here is a 6,000-year-old petroglyph. I don't know, cave lion, mammoth. There's an ancient elephant that's got 4 tusks. Who knows what it is? But we've got some of it dated. Spider Woman is up there, and that's a clan marking. There's another huge up on the ledge. This is done by the Paiutes about 900 AD. One of the incredible Spider Woman markings that I've seen anywhere. And spirals. This would be a really old spiral because it started to darken. They thought, and this is another spiral that's a little bit more recent. And this is a great on top. This is an ascending spiral. Here you're descending down to the earth. L is earth, and then you ascend back up to the sky. So you have ascending and descending. And here, I say this is the Milky Way. And little children's footprints. So you start seeing checkerboards and hashtags and all these other markings. And it's not what most people would think. They think Milky Way might be a bunch of dots or stars or something. This is the sun and the moon, possibly creator because of the size of the hands. This I know to be a female figure because this right here indicates the umbilical cord. And this is a shaman attempting to control the sun. This is another solstice and equinox marker. The shaman is older than the spiral. This is a perfect example of different styles. These are about 3,000 years old and follow the Cade Valley style. Okay, this was added at a later date. Originally, it was a bear claw. And then the Paiutes at a later date added this and said that it was Datura, their plant they use for vision quest. So you can see the difference in the older they are, the darker they are, but weather can have a lot of effect on it. So if it's in a rainy spot, you can have a fairly new petroglyph that's quite dark. So you can't use that as a 100% gauge. Style is probably the best. And this is a story that I go to, but oh, by the way, these figures, anytime they're skinny, there's a drought, But this is a Paiute story about when that coyote poops. I love that story, but don't want to spend too much time. Just to show you there's a sense of humor there. And so you know, that's basically it for this one slideshow. And it's actually an incredible spot to go up to. And if you ever get a chance, it's about 15 minutes from my house.
And all of these petroglyphs are in this one canyon?
Yeah. And I've only, these pictures are only about, I'd say, the slides that I've got there, because I'm not showing mess out. This is only about 25% of them.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you so much.
The weather radio just said flash flooding at Silver Creek and Snowflake.
Yes, Richard he got knocked off a few minutes ago. So he came back on once and then I think the electricity went down again. So he's not on right now.
So you got my, you know, if you don't have it from Richard, you got my name and number. But if you wanted to see the solstice and the equinox, the PowerPoints I put together that shows how the shadow effects are. I mean, we've got incredible numbers of petroglyphs here. Probably about, I'd say about 7 or 8 years ago, the American Rock Art Association had their first convention in St. George over Memorial Weekend. And they didn't think there are any petroglyphs here. And our club put together 25 different hikes. And we're really close to, you know, the Nevada area with Whitney Hartman and Cedar City. And if you get a chance to go to Fremont State Park, that one's really worth it. It's in almost center of Utah, I-15 and Highway 70. Okay. And in that state park, they do incredible interpretive work on the petroglyphs that they've got there.
That's really neat. What was the name of that first story that the Hopi elder told you? What?
The Hopi creation story.
Hopi creation. Okay. I had missed that.
Yeah. And a matter of fact, I told Richard this, but for those that didn't know the story, in the Native culture, you have to work really hard to get an interview with a Native teacher. And so I worked a year to get an interview with him, and it's a 3-hour drive from here. So I learned what gifts he would need. And so I took some blue cornmeal, and his wife wanted a new frying pan. So I made the 3-hour drive and properly gave him the gifts. And I remember him shaking my hand and saying, "Thank you, see you next year." And so it was just a test on how stubborn I was going to be, I suppose. So I had to come back the next year. I mean, they're really, and I understand this because I grew up Native, that there's just not a lot of trust. And so they're very, very careful, and they know the stories. I got in a lively discussion with a BLM person about nobody knows what they really mean. And I said, "Do you realize you've just insulted every Native American elder in the United States by saying nobody knows?" Because yeah, they know what they mean. They just only recently started to share them. So this is exciting news, as they're beginning to share them. That's why preserving it is even more important. That we need to preserve them as the Native culture gets more and more open to the stories.
Absolutely. Richard, are you back on?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've got my computer up and running again. I've had 3 power failures and had to restart it 3 times now. So I'm back on again.
I guess my presentation was too electrifying.
Oh, wow, nice.
Well, it brought the rain, which we've been needing some of, but
It's clouding up here, and it doesn't look really very well either. But anyway, that's I teach quite a few classes at the local college here, and I'm excited how many people are getting to be interested in it, especially the younger ones. This is what I want to do, is capture the younger ones,
Oh, yes.
get them involved in it. And our local college for the first term is setting up an archaeological research center. And I've got an archaeological library in my garage as it is, but things are happening, and I love where technology is catching up with it. And I'm convinced that DNA is going to solve all of these archaeological cold cases. So I study DNA also, and what they're finding with the DNA is fascinating. So that's
Now,
Go ahead, John.
Feather, you said you're about 15 minutes from Anasazi Ridge?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
If you drive slow.
If you drive. So you're in the general St. George area.
Oh yeah, but really cool place that one of my most favorite places, and I could do another presentation on that, is Little Black Mountain. And that's also 15 minutes from here, but 4 miles, you do need to have a high clearance. But Anasazi Ridge is a public site, and so you don't even need a vehicle. And even one of the trail is supposed to be ADA approved. But unfortunately, on the solstices, the summer and the winter solstices, unfortunately, the people of the Mormon religion faith have taken it over. So they'll pack in 200 people in this little space, because the stories are all about the Book of Mormon. I'm going like, oh shit.
Oh my.
So
Oh my. Okay. Avoid that day.
But you can go up on a solstices. You can go 3 days in either direction, before or after, and still hit the solstice. Equinoxes, you really have to almost be there. But another great place, if you ever wanted to do a camping trip, would be Fremont State Park. That's an incredible state park in the middle of the state of Utah. And so full of petroglyphs here. I love Little Black Mountain. I love Tonaquint. Santa Clara Canyon, which is much older. The people lived in the canyon. This is up on a ridge, not high, but down in the canyon below where the Santa Clara River runs. They had villages there, and we've even got an desert archaic village there, where the petroglyphs are 7,000 or 8,000 years old. So we have a full span of time here. So, and like I say, Anasazi Ridge is, I've got some disabilities since I fell off a ladder. So I've got some disabilities now. Don't go on ladders. I didn't even know they did replace mid elbows, by the way. So the left side of my body is mostly metal. So on a windy day, I turn into a human wind chime.
As long as you don't squeak when you walk, that'll be fine.
Well, oil can going, the old, I guess, like Tin Man. I just have to walk more slowly, but I moved to St. George in '89, mostly because of the petroglyphs, not because of the city. So there's tons of stuff to see. Just getting a hotel in St. George, Utah, you could spend a week here and not see all there is to see.
Well, I'm gonna have to get in touch with you and find out where some of these are. So, do you still have more to show us on your PowerPoint?
I guess it could have taken more time for stories, but no, I think that's it. We're into it almost an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you can stop sharing your PowerPoint then, and
I did.
put your cursor up at the very top, and it'll say stop share screen.
Okay. That do
There you
it?
go. That did it.
Okay.
Now we can see the big picture of you.
Oh, I'll go back to the other, but
Does anybody else have a question?
Well, I guess you must have
would ask
explained it.
Sean, just about, you mentioned very briefly that the far right figure with the little guy in it with his hands down meant he was there, present now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that a general when you see them with the hands down, no matter how many digits they have, that it means the current present?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, there's all clues. The class that I'm teaching on symbols, and like I said, I don't know if it's going to be available on Zoom, but the class and I go into positions. And so if the arms are down, that pretty much means I'm here to stay. Okay. If the arms are up, then that's probably more connected to the sky. But there's so many, like the Soltu priest, his arms are down, but yet he's got 3 digits. But he's in the sky world. And oh God, there's Kaye Valley up at Zion National Park that's all painted. But in that place, that's Kaye Valley style, so they're much older. But that's the only place I've been to that there are 7 or 8 figures that one arm up and one arm down, which is a blessing position, but it's also attached to the earth and the sky. So when you go both arms down, that most of the time means that they're here and present. Yes.
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, that's very informative.
Yeah, and so you get clues when I teach my class in symbols. It's kind of instead of teaching, giving somebody a fish, I'd rather teach them to fish so that you know what to look for. Because with all of the desert people, like I said, most of the sites will be divided into the underworld, the middle world, and the upper world. And cracks and ladders and lines are all about journeys, and circles are all about open portals, and T's are also portals. And that comes from Mesoamerica culture. And we have so many Venus star symbols that come straight up from the Mesoamerica culture that are just everywhere. But when I teach symbols, I think a cross is a good example. I mean, I was down at, if you ever get to see Valley of the Fire, they've got some of the coolest petroglyphs at Valley of the Fire, and with adeladders and round dances. And Valley of the Fire's just, Valley of the Fire would be 45 minutes from St. George. It's in Nevada, a Valley of the Fire State Park. But I was going along there, and there was a cross that was on there, and these wonderful little ladies from UK, which made it others from UK.
Yep, a little tiger.
They saw a cross and they said, "Oh, we didn't know that the Indians were Christians." And I said, "Well, that's the cardinal directions, And so you can take a symbol like something that looks like a menorah down in Nevada, and that's the tree of life symbol. But you take something like a simple red cross, and if you move into the Navajo or Dine culture, most people don't know this, but they put a lot of red crosses in their baskets and their sand paintings and their blankets, and that represents a Spider Woman. So Red Cross is totally different. It's Spider Woman, and that Spider Woman plays into their stories a great deal. So you can take a common symbol and have it mean something depending upon the culture that's interpreting it. So I like to interpret symbols to give the other side of the story. And you're never gonna find a book that's going to, there's some pretty good books out there, but one of the books that I would recommend is this Rock Art of the Grand Canyon Region. Fairly new book. And this goes into the styles and how old they are. And if we could get better at dating them, we'd be better at understanding and interpreting them. Because if you go to the desert archaic stuff, that is so old that we're beyond even guessing. But something that's even 2,000 to 3,000 years old, our cultures know those dates. I mean, Christianity is 2,000 years old and they know their symbols. So the stories have been handed down for centuries. So they're there.
Right. Well, that
That's
was
it.
all very interesting and I really enjoyed it. I'm sorry I couldn't have heard the whole thing while it was playing.
Well, you heard it yesterday a little bit.
Right.
And didn't I hear you say, Feather, that you had some presentations already together that if Richard contacted you, we might get connected to those Zooms? That would be really interesting.
Yeah, see, I've got tons of PowerPoints because I teach at our local college and I teach archaeology. My favorite class is really archaeoastronomy, and I'm doing a symbols class, and so I've taught there for 5 years. So I got tons of. Here I'm doing all these classes, and I'm like, what button do I push? Because
Thank you so much for your talk. I really appreciated it.
Yeah. So I have tons of PowerPoints. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to get with you and schedule another meeting
Okay.
in the future.
Okay.
So
Is that
Well,
it?
I think, I guess I can close it out now. If there's no other questions, I want to thank you for your time and I'm glad that you were able to get your PowerPoint up and running and it was a very wonderful talk.
It was, thank you very much, Feather. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay.
All right, well, if nobody has anything else, I'll go ahead and end the meeting.